Hi there, I'm Eitan, and welcome back to the Wix Wiz. In today's video, we're going to be playing around with a new feature that was released in OpenAI's Dev Day, and that is text-to-speech, so converting text into audio. And we're going to be adding it into the chatbot that we've been building throughout this series so that, for example, if the chatbot responds, you'll also have the option to play the audio version of it. What a beautiful haiku. So if you want to see how to do all that and more, let's get started. Okay, so here I am back in our playground, and as you can see, I've added an audio player here to the AI's response, and that is because today we are going to be doing the text-to-speech. So essentially, the user will input some text over here, and then down here we'll be able to play that audio file. So let's first start by getting our backend set up. So I'm going to go into the playground file here in the backend. And in order to do this, we are going to need to use a package called axios. And it's a package for processing HTTP requests, network requests. And the reason we're using it is because it wraps a lot of functionality inside of it, things that might not otherwise be possible, at least not in a Wix backend here. And the main complexity here with this audio request here, which is this create speech endpoint, is that it returns an audio file. Okay, so differently to all the other endpoints that we had, which either returned text or returned a URL, this returns an audio file, which is a little hard to work with, and we have to somehow get the contents of that file and upload it to Wix before we could even start using it. And that's the challenge that we're going to overcome right now. So I'm going to start with importing the Axios package. And I'm just going to move down all the other functions that we wrote in the previous tutorials. And if you don't have the package installed already, so you'll want to go ahead and install it here from Packages and Apps. And let me go ahead and zoom in as well to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. One more. No, that's two more. Okay, so I'm going to import Axios from Axios. And I'm going to create a new function. So export async function, and we'll call it generate audio. And at the moment, we won't have it take any kind of input. And what we're going to be doing here is defining a few things similarly to how we did before. So also here, we're going to need to have an API key, and we're going to need to have an endpoint. So let me just copy over that retrieval of the API key. And I'm also going to define the endpoint as the endpoint that we have over here for create speech. So that's right over here. If I can select it. There we go. So that's right over here. And we're also going to need to set up our body. So let's say const body, and this will be based on what we have here in the API reference. So in terms of what's required, we have model, input, and voice. Model being the model, the AI model that's generating the audio. Input, the text that we want to convert into audio. And voice are like different voices that the audio can sound like. You can check out this like speech guide if you want to try out different ones. I'm just going to use this. I'm just going to use this alloy one to begin with, but you can play around with these different ones and decide which one you like best. So again, here we're going to have the model, and we're going to have the input, and we're going to have the voice. So the voice I already know is alloy, and the model, I already managed to forget the model. So let me head back here and copy this. So TTS1. I'm guessing TTS1 HD is better quality in some way. I'm going to first use the the default one, and then if you want, you can play around and see what the difference between this and HD is. I'm not so sure. So I'm going to throw this in here. And for input, I'm going to have a default input for now of hope you have an awesome day. Okay? And later on, we're going to be passing in this input through as a parameter, of course. So that's for our body. And for our headers, we're also going to have something very similar to what we had before. So that was the authorization and the content type. I'm just going to throw that in there. And I'm organizing it slightly differently than how we would do it typically with fetch because Axios works a little differently. So in terms of actually making the request with Axios, so we're going to use here const, and I'm already going to deconstruct the data from the response. So typically we'd get back a response from Axios and we'd want to tap into the response.data. Here I'm just deconstructing it off the bat, and I'm not going to dive in too much into why I'm doing that. If you want, you can do a little more research into Axios and why this needs to be this way. And here it's also going to be a promise, and we're going to be awaiting axios.post. So the method is passed in this way with Axios, and we're going to have the endpoint. We're going to have our body, and here we're going to have our options. And for the options, we have the headers. And we have one more thing that we're going to be passing in here, and that is the response type. And this response type needs to be of the type, I'm just looking it up now, array buffer. Okay? And why does it need to be array buffer? It's because this is what worked for me, as opposed to the 1,000 other things that did not work. But basically, it has to do with the conversion of the MP3 file into a buffer. Okay, we need it to be a buffer in the end of the day. And in order to get from that MP3 file to a buffer, this is what worked. And once we have this data, what we're going to need to do now is, as I said, to convert it to a buffer. So I'm going to say here const buffer equals to buffer.from data. And now that we have this buffer, we can go ahead and use this with the Wix Media API. So let's head over here. I had already opened up Audio Player, but no worries. We can go back to that. So if I go here to Wix Media Backend, and then to the Media Manager, you'll see here that we have a method called upload, which is for uploading a file to the Media Manager from a buffer. So let me just go ahead and copy all this nice boilerplate code that we have here. And I'm going to create a new function. So async function, and I'm going to call it upload to Wix. And it's going to take the buffer as a parameter. And let me paste this code in here. Okay, so I don't need this response example. And I also want to have this import be all the way up here at the top. And I also don't need the name that they gave to the function. So awesome. So essentially we're going to return this upload method to the Media Manager. And I'm just going to change a few things around here. So this is the folder essentially that we're uploading it to in the Media Manager. So this is going to be, I just called it uploads and audio. Audio. And this is our buffer. Okay, so that just stays as it is. Here we're going to have the file name. Later on, we're going to change it so that we actually pass in the file name through the functions. For now, I'm just going to call this audio 2, and that's because I already did audio 1 while I was practicing. So that's why it's audio 2. Here, in terms of the media type, it's going to be audio. And for the MIME type, so you can go over here and take a look. Options, media type, MIME type. So if we take a look at this and we just do a quick look for audio, then we can see here that we have two choices. One is audio MPEG and one is audio Vorbis. To be honest, this word, I have no idea what Vorbis is, so I chose audio MPEG and it worked. So that's what I recommend you choose as well. And yeah, I mean, this whole experience with the text-to-speech definitely inspired me to learn more about like file types and buffers and stuff like that. I feel like it's definitely something I could know a lot more about. But you could also just play around until things work. That's also an option. And for the metadata options, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm just going to get rid of this context because I don't really need it at this point. So it's not private and it's not going to be considered a visitor upload. And the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to return await upload to Wix buffer. Okay, and that should complete this process. I'm going to throw in a try catch here, just in case I made a little mistake, so I can catch that error and resolve it. So I'm going to add in console.log error generating audio error. Yeah, and that should be enough for us to test. So I'm going to go ahead and click this little blue button, and I'm going to hit run. And our function has been called. And we got an error. We got a mismatch. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I did this wrong the first time too, but anyway. Basically here, I mean, it's actually good that you're seeing this because it just stresses the importance of it, and it's something that you would likely do as well if you were doing some copying and pasting there. Basically, I told it to save it as a JPEG where it's an audio file, so this should be an MP3. And that is the problem there. So let me get rid of that and run. Never get it right the first time. And this is your chance to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave your comment with how you're progressing on this, and boom. Okay, so we got our upload here, and this file URL is the critical thing which we're going to be passing to our front end later on. But yeah, this looks like a success, and just to confirm, what we can do is we can go to Media and go to My Uploads. Here you can see that audio 2, I have a file here. I'm going to click Show More, go into this Uploads folder, and go in another one, and I'm going to play this MP3.
Hope you have an awesome day.
Hope you have an awesome day. I hope you all are having an awesome day because I had an awesome day the moment that I heard the audio file playing and it worked. So that is in terms of building out the backend. Okay, so that is that. And now we're going to head over to the front end and see how we can actually let the user hear this audio file once it is generated. Okay, so here I am in the front end, and you can see here that we still have the stuff from the previous episode set up in terms of the generate image. So I'm just going to switch some things out so that it works for the audio. So first, instead of importing the generate image function, I'm going to import the generate audio function that we just created. And I'm going to copy this function from the get image because there's a lot of stuff that we could still use there. And I'm going to comment out the previous version. So here what we're going to do, so we're still going to do all this stuff that we did before in terms of visually kind of displaying the user's prompt and expanding the, the AI and the AI bubble, etc. But the main thing that we want to change here is that we want to, instead of the generated image data, we can get the generated audio data, and we're going to get that from the generate audio function, and we're passing in here a prompt. As I said, we're also going to want to create a file name, but we'll do that within the backend function. So here we're just going to pass in the prompt, and we should probably remember to set that up here in the backend as well. So generate audio, it should take an input, and instead of just having it create files for hope you have an awesome day, it will create whatever we pass into the input. So that's over there in the backend. just to make sure that that is set up. In terms of what it returns, so as I said, the important part here is going to be this file URL. So here I'm just going to here on the front end, I'm going to say that the source for our audio player here should be that URL. So here we're going to have the audio player dot source equals to generated audio data dot file URL. And in terms of the AI content, so we don't have any text coming back, so this is not really relevant to us. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. And we don't need to expand the AI image, and we don't need to show the AI content. So we're just going to have audio. And I want to make sure that our audio is expanded here and it's not collapsed or anything like that. Let me see. No, so I'm going to actually collapse it by default and expand it here after. So audio player dot expand. Expand it after we assign the audio file. And the one last thing that I said I was going to do is that here we'll pass in a file name as well. And here this will also be a file name. And in terms of the file name, I'm going to say that const file name equals to input dot substring. Let's say, what's a good length for a file name? Let's say 20 dot join. And here we'll say that we'll join with I think it's called, what's that, a dash? We'll join it with a dash. And that is hopefully should create some file names. This is a slightly problematic line of code here, because if somebody puts in like some kind of weird character or something, then it could throw off the whole system. So I do recommend creating something a little more robust to create the file name. But for demonstration purposes, that will work. And then here, instead of audio .mp3, I'm going to turn it into a template literal and pass in the file name here, just that each file name will be slightly different and it will be based off of the text, the prompt that the user provided. So here we're going to have file name, and I think that that should do the trick. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to publish this, and I'm going to go and view the published site, and we're going to want to look at the playground. And let's give it a try. So I'm going to try, I really, really, really like pizza, which is true. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that button, and it's loading. So stuff is happening in the background. You can keep an eye here on the logs. Oh. Uh-oh. Error generating audio. Input.substring.join is not a function. Oh, shoot. Yeah. I told you it was a problematic line of code. Basically, join is for arrays, and I used it on a string. So that's not very nice of me. What we're going to need to do is use replace. So I'm going to replace all the spaces with that dash. And I think that that should do the trick. So let me publish that. And I'm going to copy this so I don't have to write it again. And let me give this a refresh. Put that in. Okay, something came back. I'm very excited. Make sure my audio is up so you can hear. So that was not what I expected to hear. What I think that was was the default audio in that audio element. Because I don't think that the AI turned my pizza question into music. So let's see. Yeah, so I don't see any errors generating the function this time. So that means we did get a response. We did just have a problem associating sets or gets the file location of the audio file. Let me check out the documentation for this and make sure that I'm doing this right. Let's see, source. Yeah, that should do the trick, right? Let me add in some logs here. Maybe let me double check here. Yeah, file URL, right? That's the structure. Yeah, let me add a log here just to console.log generated audio data. Whoops. Generated audio data. And yeah, audio player dot source. Sometimes I have seen issues where when you're expanding an element, sometimes whatever you do before you expand the element doesn't really work. So just to rule out that possibility, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncollapse this. Okay, so in terms of UX, it won't be so awesome in terms of the UI, but at least we'll know if that's the issue, because I don't think that the issue is with this, because that all seemed to be working quite smoothly. We could even just check out our media. Yeah, so you see that we have the file here. Show more, uploads, audio. So we have this really like pizza.
I really, really, really like pizza.
Okay, so we did successfully generate the audio file, so that did work. We just need to figure out why it's not working on the live site. So let me go ahead and publish this again. I'm going to give this a refresher. One last one for good measure. And this is working now. Yay. And let's try that one out. Let's see. Okay, so we see the audio player, but remember our audio didn't come back yet. Hmm. Yeah, why is that not working? Oh, let's see. Ah, okay. So I was wrong about the expanding. See, so this starts with Wix audio, but it needs to start with HTTPS or a valid audio URL starting with Wix audio dash dash. That is what we were trying to. Okay, so I am back from my debugging session, and I found the issue, and that is that at the end of the URL, the file URL that we were generating here, so if we take a look here, for example, in generate audio, you'll see that at the end it says duration equals undefined. So I was playing around with that a bit, and when I set that to be some kind of random number, it started working. So basically, I guess that can't be undefined. The problem is that it's not defined. I don't know why Wix isn't defining it. I don't know what the significance is in terms of what it'll actually do if it's wrong, let's say. But we need to put some kind of number there. So I think that our best bet would be to try to estimate the duration using the size of the file. Not an exact science, but basically what I did here at the front end is I set up a function that will estimate the seconds of the file. I'm also assuming that that duration is in seconds. And I put it inside this math.ceil just to make sure that it's a rounded number and rounded up, because I found that if it was a decimal, it wouldn't work. So that's one thing to note. And then we have this other function here, which takes the estimate and replaces the undefined with the estimated duration. And that's all set up right over here inside of the function. So we get the audio data like before, we estimate the duration, and we pass that in along with the original file URL to the fix audio URL function. Then we assign that to the audio player and expand it like before. So I'm going to go ahead and publish these changes. And then we can go over here and run hopefully one last test. So I'm going to write over here, Wix is fun when it works, in parentheses. And let's go ahead and try and see if that works. So here it's generating. Okay, so here we have our generated file, and let's listen.
Wix is fun.
There we go. Okay, so not the annoying music, but the actual thing that we wanted. And that is an example of how to create the text-to-speech in the playground. The next thing we're going to do is head over to our chatbot and implement it over there. Okay, so here I am back on the home page where our bot is, and you'll notice that I've added two elements to each of our bot messages over here. And one of them is just another icon with kind of like an equalizer symbol in it. And that's what's going to be used to indicate that the user wants to generate the audio file. And here is an audio player, which is going to actually play the audio once it's generated. And I'm setting this up currently only for the bot. So that means that the users will be able to generate an audio version of the bot's response as opposed to what they sent. Okay, obviously you could set that up for the user as well if that's something that you want to offer. And yeah, except for that, in terms of setup, all I've done is I've taken the files that taken the functions for generate audio and upload to Wix, as well as the imports, and I brought them into this chatbot file, and I'm importing generate audio here inside of my homepage. Okay, so that's pretty much the setup. And now we want to add in this functionality, and all the magic is going to be happening here inside of the messages repeater. Okay, and basically what we're going to want to do is add an on-click for this icon here. Okay, the bot audio icon, and I'm going to add that in here inside of if role equals assistant. Okay, so if the role equals assistant, whoops, a line of code from when I was practicing. If it equals assistant, then what we're going to do is I'm going to select the bot audio icon and say dot on click. And here we're going to do a few things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to get that get the audio file. So I'm going to say const audio data equals to await generate audio. And here we're going to want to pass in the prompt, which is going to be this content that we have right over here. So content. And this needs to be asynchronous for this to work. And now here we are going to do the same processing of the URL like we did in the playground. So let me copy over those files. So let's go to the playground in the front end. I keep on saying files when I mean functions. Here we are on the playground, and I'm going to copy over these two functions. So let me copy that, and I'm going to head back to the home page, and I'll just paste them here all the way on the bottom, and head back up here. So we're going to say that const duration equals 2, estimate MP3 duration, and we're going to pass in the audio data, and this is going to be, I already forgot. I think it's the size in bytes. Let me double check, otherwise I'm going to be running around with bugs here. Yeah, size in bytes. Okay. That's going to be going right over here. And then we're going to have the const URL equals 2, fix audio URL, and we'll pass in the audio data dot file URL and the duration. Now that we have the URL, we can assign it like we did before, not to $W, but to $item. And we're going to be assigning it to the bot audio player dot source equals to URL. Then we can expand the audio player, so bot audio player dot expand. And when this all happens successfully, I'm going to, again, $item, not $W, I'm going to collapse the bot audio icon. So bot audio icon, and that's to prevent them from creating another version of the same exact file, because that would be a waste. So that's going to be dot, I'll just hide it. And that, I think, should do the trick. Let's give it a spin. So I'm going to publish this, and I'm going to head over to that page on the live site. And here I'm going to send a message, write a haiku. Uh-oh. I think I forgot to stack them. Let's see if this still works. Let me try clicking that. They might be overlapped directly, so they're not actually... Oh, man. See if we have any errors here. Okay, cannot read undefined size in bytes. Okay, so it did call the function audio data equals to generate audio content. Let's see if we have any errors. Okay, we got a status code 500. That can happen. So let me try clicking again. Because status code 500 usually means another one. Status code 500. That usually means that its Wix is bad. Okay, let me deal with this this little structural issue first. So I'm gonna just stack these guys. Whoops. Okay, I need to zoom out to do this, otherwise it'll be impossible. And select the one under it. Stack. Awesome. So that should fix the structural integrity of the of those two icons. And let's try refreshing. Right, and haiku. A haiku and haiku. Okay. No. Okay, so this is too much to be a coincidence. So we must be doing something wrong, and when I say we, I mean I. Um, let's see. So this is generate audio from backend slash chatbot. Let me go to that file, chatbot, and generate audio. I mean, it's the same exact. Oh, by the way, here the substring, this should be 020, which might also be the reason that we had that issue, because write a haiku is too short. Basically, when I said 20 here, it means start from 20, and I really wanted it to be 0 to 20. Let me try. That might actually be it, to be honest. That might totally be it. So let me try refreshing. And just one more time for good measure. And let's try that again. Write a haiku. This is your chance to like the video. There we go. There we go. Moment of truth.
Whispers of the brain.
I'm very happy. I hope you are too. And that's where we're going to wrap up this video for today. So if you liked it, don't forget to like. If you want to see the rest of this series and other Velo Wix code related videos, then you should definitely subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with your experience trying this out, and I will see you next time.